Hey everyone, Antipeter1, I'm here and welcome to my channel. Education needs reform, and it's over formalized, and it's over indoctrinated, and it's over cognitively biased. Cognitively biased. I was inspired with this video with the recollection of a couple of school kids who were in the presence of their parents, who encouraged them to be very, very polite to people in a lift, an elevator lift situation. So to make sure that everyone, all the strangers such as myself, got into the lift first before they made their way into the lift. And they were very, very polite, very polite. I think politeness and courtesy are very important. But these are only the surface and shallow parts of being an ethical kind of person. What does it mean to be ethical? It does not just mean being polite to people or the presentation of a child or an adult towards another person is, of course, very, very important. Education needs to refocus itself. At the moment, it's all about survivalism and learning the ropes of something which will allow us to make a living and survive. But what is education's real role? Education's real role is questioning the status quo, learning what not only our needs are, but also acknowledging the human needs for growth, enlightenment, happiness, and ultimate meaning and fulfillment in our lives. Education needs to focus on one word, and that word is ethics. We need to keep talking about it, and thereby training our minds to keep on focusing on the word ethics and the concepts of ethics as a kind of behavioral science. Humans are actually very smart. It's only when they learn things over many, many years which are irrelevant or make us into smartasses or not look at things which are particularly important, not only to our survival, but the survival of our planet and the entire society that we live in, that it becomes rundown and irrelevant and simply not worth living. For some reason, for too long, education has been about the passage of genes or tradition. So religious tradition like Christianity, which has a lot of things which are irrelevant and great stories, sure, but not particularly important for learning about how to deal with other people. So let's inspire questioning and curious culture. I honestly and earnestly believe that social skills should be an actual subject at school. It should be taught as a subject in itself, not only involving books, but also practical exercises, projects, and learning criteria through which we understand the world and can interact and engage with the world, not completely different from learning something like public speaking, for example, which is so important, but for some strange reason is taught as a separate subject. Learning from books is so vicarious, it's so mundane and claptrap. It's just a system where we are looking at words on text on a particular page, and it doesn't make sense to me at all. I also have issues with schools teaching subjects alone, such as history and languages. I believe these are some of the most useless subjects that have ever been taught in the way that they have been taught, because they don't teach us about the culture behind those things. So learn language and history for culture reasons. Avoid the overcognitive experience. Overcognitive means that we are forcing our brains to remember certain things without looking at the context of things or the beauty of the language itself, forming that language into poetry and love and inspiration and so on, or learning about the people or the culture. So, for example, Harry Potter is a hugely popular, you might even call it a sect or a cult in the world today, because children love to learn about mysterious and mythical beasts and creatures. And why not? Why not? If we love to do something like that, we become fascinated by the sort of combination of subjects into something which is inherently cultural, such as language, arts, and biology, or zoology, or mythology. In this particular case of Harry Potter, makes us love the way that we learn and makes us bright people and educated people at the same time, people who love life and are curious to learn newer and greater things. So most people know the film Dead Poets Society. It's a great movie which is about a teacher who inspires his students to live a life which is unique and romantic and lovely and so on. It's interesting, of course, that that humans reproduce in love and romantic contexts with ideals and promises for their children, but at the same time they force their children into obligatory contexts predicated on learning things that don't really matter. So we are cogitative thinkers, especially thinkers who are specialized in a particular field, but we are not taught how to live life with love and beauty and inspiration and inspiring and engaging other people to be kind to other people and to create that culture of kindness. The great thing about a kindness culture, of course, is that it's like anything, it's exponential. So the more that we think about kindness and love and being nice to other people, the more it will engender that in other people. And it's like a hugely snowballing effect on other people. The catchphrase, find something you are good at and stick to it, is a very misleading phrase, because in a world in which we need to know a little bit about everything, especially the big issues in the world today, it's not relevant or pertinent to say that we should just find one thing that we are good at and which is rewarded in the capitalist system. The capitalist system teaches us to think that we should be good at one particular thing and not good at things in general, which is very, very misleading. So I think the history of education has developed out of history of civilization. Writing and mathematics were particularly useful and found to be particularly useful in a particular day and age. And whilst I believe that in the early formative stages of a child's development they should be learning these things, focusing too much on these things creates a child who can think and write and participate in particularly narrow-minded ways, which is not what we're looking for. We want someone who is holistic, who is engaged with society, and who can benefit and inspire society to be much better than it really is. We must learn that we are abundant in our kindness. We must learn that we are abundant in our generosity to other people. We have a duty to other people to make them loved and cherished as much as we feel loved and cherished ourselves. So in my time at Camet Grammar School between the years 1988 to 1997, I had a lot of weird teachers. Not all of them were bad. There were some great characters there. But there were a few that I would regard as particularly noxious and bad, particularly my drama and music teachers, who were almost narcissistic in certain ways and favoured some of the other students other than myself. So it wasn't an all-welcoming, all-inclusive culture. It was a very, very elitist and cognitively based culture. There are some people at my school who I particularly remember as being such beautiful people. Lachlan Edwards, for example, who was so supportive and had a genuine interest in other people, sort of people who I remember for the rest of my life, and had a hugely important impact on me. So let's be all welcoming and all inclusive. The phrase that I would like to bring up is invite people to not only be at the party, but to participate at the party, and invite them to dance at the party. Drama schools are better at this in certain ways, all-inclusively encouraging people to be part of a particular group, but we can do a lot more. Religious worship, for example, is hugely predicated on people being passively participatory. So, standing in a particular seat or pew and allowing them to just recite words and mantras. That's hugely passive, and it's not something which teaches us to be inspired and to create things uniquely focused on changing the world for the better. This is my thoughts for today, and I appreciate your time and your energy in watching this video. Thank you so much.